Hello, everybody. I just wanted to put it out there, my opinion about what happened with the fellow Piotr, I think was his name, and how he snatched the hat from the young boy at the US Open. And I just made me really think about how different the world is now, how different the world is, and how I'm so happy that the world is that different because I mean, not that that was the biggest, issue for the boy, but still it was awful and, it was probably humiliating because it was in front of millions of people. Um it still was it was upsetting, right? I was obviously upsetting. Now, what would have happened if instead of that you got the opposite? Oh, well, you don't need it anyway. Oh, well, why are you crying about? There's always other matches. Oh, well, it's not a big deal. The adult probably deserves it more than you anyway. What if that kind of thing had happened? Like you should just be grateful you got to go. Um, or way worse stuff. So I just thought that that was really beautiful that there was some accountability because I think that's what's sorely lacking in today's world and definitely in the 70s. So, yes, this is another Gen X rant. Because we didn't get that. And I think if we had gotten some kind of help or accountability, or if people had taken any responsibility, I think most of us wouldn't be as messed up as we are right now. Most of the Gen X people I know are doing about as well as I am, which is not well. We have, serious health problems, serious burnout, serious adrenal fatigue, CPTSD, physical injuries, autoimmune, and some way, way scarier things too, because you can't just be abused for 40 years and expect it not to affect your life. Right. So, not just me, I've watched a lot of, way more fancy people than me in the YouTube market, in the Gen X influencer market. And yeah, they don't look much better than me. I'm 58 now, by the way, everybody. But hey, feeling good about 58, actually. But yeah, so again, another Gen X rant about how that would have been if that had happened at the time, right? Well, most of us were poor, not all of us, obviously, but a good deal of us were really poor when we were younger, and yet made a way. I made a way. I was like seriously welfare dirt poor. And I mean, I think it's a valuable thing for people that really do need it. But as we know, not everybody on it actually needs it. We've seen that before. I knew people that had that. So, yeah. But what it means is you don't really have very much money to do anything because they don't really give you very much money. So I would have never been able to go to a fancy tennis open place thing. I mean, I barely got clothes. And you should just like it. No, I don't like it. I don't like having to wear things that don't look good. I don't like being bullied by people who think it's funny. No. And if you watch my other videos, you know a lot of that. But what struck me as fascinating was just how much people cared about this kid. And when you think about that, how is his life going to now be changed because the adult was made to pay for what he had done? So that's kind of what I really wanted to talk about is that there's so many of those young kids everywhere in the world that never got their bag of goodies, that never got their bag of US Open merchandise from the fellow who won the game, that basically just had to suck it up, as it were, and, just manage it and don't say anything. And how many times that happens, and then what do you think about yourself? And I think as a Gen X back in the day, 70s and 80s, that's really what we were all taught. Just put up with it, Cheryl. Put up with it, everybody. What's wrong? Do you want a medal if you did anything good instead of thanking you for your good work? Or, do you want a medal? That was literally something I heard. Well, actually, I do want a medal because you demanded I do this and I did it. And now you're not even going to congratulate me that I did it. Like what? So it was that bad, people. So I guess I just wanted to talk about that. Like, the fellow's going to lose his job now, and everybody thinks he's a jerk, which he is. So in case you are like one of a few people that haven't yet seen this video, there's a video of the man, very well-to-do man, sitting next to this young boy. I don't know anything about the young boy, but he seemed to really love tennis. And then the man who just won the tennis match was very generous with his time and was signing autographs for people, putting things in the stand for people. That's kind of what he was doing. So he had a hat and he signed it and he went and directly gave it to the boy. And then this man's hand came out, snatched it out of the boy's hand. There was no mistake. There was no, oh, maybe it was for my sons. No, watch me again. Hand right here with the hat, giving it to the boy. Hand reaches out, snatches it, and then guess what the wife does? She puts it in her bag. He gives it to her. She puts it in her bag so there's no more conversation about it. It's gone now. I mean, how entitled can you be? And then some of the stuff that they actually talked about in the beginning that, essentially, finders, keepers, losers, weepers, which, by the way, I heard my whole life, that if you lose something, you are to blame and you don't get it back because it's not yours anymore. Can you imagine what would happen if we did that with kids today? Can you imagine the uproar? And I'm not just talking about small things. We didn't have things like Xboxes or Game Boys or any of that stuff or phones. We had toys and we had books and stuff, maybe. Those were bad enough to lose, but can you imagine dropping your phone by accident on the playground and then somebody claiming the phone is their own? And that you were just supposed to put up with that? That was literally what happened to us on our playgrounds. And the teachers and the principals just backed it up because it's your fault that you lost it, so now it's everybody's. I was an EA, and I used to have to explain to my autistic and low-functioning kids that no, just because you see something doesn't mean it belongs to you. And I would talk to my EA students, the adults that I was teaching to be EAs, that very thing too, because there's a lot of people who, unfortunately do think that. Kids with FASD especially, they don't understand ownership because of their brain injury. It's not their fault, but you have to explain it. So, can you imagine that happening now? And that's literally what the man did. And then afterwards acting like somehow it's an okay thing to do. And, there's only so many hats and I just happened to get it this time. No, it's not like it was a competition. You wouldn't believe the stuff people said. It was just ridiculous. Just so that they could have what they wanted when they wanted. Kind of alluded to this in the beginning of the video, but that's what would have happened. Oh, stop being silly. They would have said that. Or like, whatever, it's just a hat. Why are you whining? Why are you crying about it? Well, so what? The man probably wanted it more than you. Okay? No, the man doesn't lose his job. No, the man doesn't get chastised by anybody because there was no internet and there were no smartphones. If you didn't shut up about it, you'd get in trouble. You might get hit or smacked, or, you might have, been sent to your room, because you were bad. That kind of stuff happened like all the time, like every day. That's why we're like this. Boomers. Yeah. So I just want to say that I thought it was beautiful that everybody stood up for that kid and stood up for what happened, and that the man at the center of the whole thing, was actually wonderful about it too. He's like, "Internet, please help me. Help me find this boy. I don't know who he is. Maybe you know who he is." And they did. And within a few hours, man, crowdsourcing is amazing. They found the little boy. He was able to give the little boy a bag of goodies. I think they had took photos. I mean, that boy's going to remember that, man. Just like we remembered when we didn't get it. So that's my Gen X rant, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah. I just wanted to say that we deserved people who helped us too, and we didn't get that. Bye, everybody. See ya on the flip side.